This incident happened back in the day when I and my friends were out for a trip on a large mountain. We decided that we will choose to travel by the car and explore the nature because it's been quite a long time since we made plans to do the outing. It was the month of July and the weather was pretty good to go for traveling and adventure. So without waiting for anything this time, we just head out. In our car, we were a total of 5 people, and among them, only 2 knew how to drive at that time. I and my other 2 friends were a bit younger than them, and basically, we didn't know anything about the cars at that time. That day, when we reached there, it was very sunny in the morning, but as soon as we spent time there, by the time it was evening, the weather got dark and it started to rain very slowly. All of us spent time and laughed together in the rain for some time, but after that, we decided to get inside the car because we have to go to our next location. After sitting in the car for some time, we noticed that the weather had turned like it is almost night, as we got the idea that it was about to rain very heavily since the sky turned extremely dark. The rain outside was still pouring slowly, because of which the mud on the surface turned wet and very slippery. Our group decided that we should eat something first before deciding on what to do next, to which everyone agreed, but the thing was, there were no hotels or restaurants available. Even the mountain was a tourist place. In the area where we were at that time, there were no such places like that, so we only decided to go get something to eat from the little stalls that were standing a bit far from our car. My friend who was driving the car pulled over the car very carefully because of the slim mountain road. As he got out of the car, he called one of my other friend who was sitting in the passenger seat to join him to get the food from the stalls. My other friend got out. They told us that they would be back in a few minutes, and after a few seconds, they were already walking away towards the food stall that was very far from our car. They were out of our view after some minutes. I sighed and looked at my 2 remaining friends. They were already relaxed, playing with their phones. I looked outside the window and frowned my brows. These idiots really have pulled the car almost over a cliff, I thought to myself, because when I looked behind, the way the car was parked on the slim mountain, it looked like there was no surface behind our car at all. Basically, what I could tell is that the way our car was parked was very dangerous, and I turned kind of anxious because of that as I kept looking back again and again. But thinking that my friends would come back soon, I didn't thought much about it and shrugged my shoulders, pulled out my headphones and started listening to music to pass my time. I looked at the slow raindrops that were pouring on the window. I closed my eyes and supported my head on the window. Everything was fine at some point. A quietness was surrounding us. But then, all of a sudden, I started to feel something. Something strange. I opened my eyes and was very confused. It was as if something was wrong, but I couldn't figure it out. I looked out the window and I felt like our car was moving. I was confused. At first, it looked as if my mind was playing trick on me because it was moving too slowly. I almost couldn't figure it out without what was happening in the first place. But as I looked outside very carefully, it finally dawned on me that we were slowly going backwards. I panicked and immediately shook my other 2 friends who were sleeping. They immediately sat up and I told them our car was moving. One of my friends looked at the situation and he yelled that our car was slipping backwards. As I looked back, high up in the mountain on a slim road, there was no surface in the direction where our car was slipping away. We all panicked when we realized we were actually locked in the car because of safety reasons, while the keys were with my friend who still didn't come back from the food stall. We were out of our mind at that point. My heart was pounding out of terror so bad. I don't know anything about the cars, and if this continues, we will lose our lives. The car was slowly slipping backwards and all 3 of us had our eyes wide open out of terror. Nobody was in the view at that time to help us and the car was not stopping. It looked as if the slow rain was making the mud even slippier with each second, because of which our car was taking its pace in going backward with speed now. My heart dropped. It almost looked like we were about to die in a second. But just when I thought something very bad would happen in a second, suddenly one of my friends who knew knew a little information about the cars, grabbed a rod-like handbrake. She pulled it and suddenly our car halted in its place. We couldn't believe it, and we double-checked if the car stopped moving, and we were so relieved the moment we saw that our car had actually stopped moving. Just then suddenly my other two friends who were out to get food came back, and when we told them what happened, they were stunned and consoled us for the terror that we just experienced. Thanks to one of my friends who really showed bravery and pulled the handbrake on time, or else we don't know what could have happened in that situation on that day. This happened when I was merely a teenager, but as I am now an adult, I still think about this near-death experience sometimes. This happened back in the day when I was 14 years old and attended a wedding in my village with my parents. I wasn't someone who would visit the village often because I had absolutely no friends there, and besides that, my relatives don't treat me very well. But still, because my parents forced me into this, I had no choice but to agree with them and decided to go with the plan. I remember we had chosen a big car for that journey in which I, my dad and mom, a few siblings and a driver were there. It was a 14 or 15-hour ride from my home to where the village was, and honestly, I wasn't very fond of traveling. I felt nauseous all the time as I was wishing to be just at home in peace, but still I had to be dragged there and deal with all of that. Anyway, we attended the wedding, we stayed there for a few days, and now it was time for us to pack our bags and go home. I was excited, but the thing was, we were about to head out in the day, but for some reason it got delayed, and we had to leave from there at night. Now, the thing was, it was very dark at night, and for some reasons I felt like it was definitely not very safe for us to travel back home late at this night in our car. Anyway, because everything was already prepared and planned, I moved on with the plan as well and closed my eyes as I sat in the back seat and watched the dark view outside. I was happy that I was going home, but my happiness suddenly vanished when I saw the area we started to head towards. It looked like a barren, almost barren road with few trees on the side, which absolutely looked haunted. I tried to look for some houses or any lights on the road, as I noticed literally no lights were present on the road. Our car was running on a barren road. And that looked so scary, as truly I was concerned for my family's safety. I talked about this with one of my siblings who was sitting beside me. She told me that she agreed with me, but I shouldn't think too much about it and try to sleep. Everything would be fine and we would reach home by the morning. I felt relaxed by her words and closed my eyes and went into a deep slumber. It was almost 20 minutes passed by when I was suddenly disturbed by numerous whisperings around me. The whisperings were like as if people are terrified and are saying something very fast out of terror. I immediately opened my eyes and looked around myself and found that each and every person inside the car was looking panicked and terrified. I gulped my saliva, and suddenly my father told the driver to move as fast as possible, and the driver was saying something to my dad about how they're behind us. I was confused. Who's behind us? I looked around the car. My family was terrified, very terrified. I immediately asked my siblings, and they told me they're behind us. At first, I thought it was something paranormal that was behind us, behind our car, as my whole body started feeling cold out of fear. But then one of my siblings said that those people are behind us. Their car are following us at its full speed. My heart started jumping. What in the world? My siblings told me that 10 minutes before, the driver sensed someone was following us, but couldn't really tell. But after some time, when two men sitting on a motorbike suddenly slammed their hand on our window, telling us to stop the car, we immediately recognized that they were some thugs. I panicked listening to them. My siblings continued that two men are on a motorbike while a few others are in a safari car that is currently following us at its full speed. I immediately looked behind. People were really following us as I noticed they were covering their faces. I started shaking, and so were my siblings. We all were terrified as I looked at my father, who had a serious expression on his face as he was guiding the driver. I forgot to mention this, but our car was showing a mechanical issue a few days ago, so I was worried about what would happen if the car suddenly stopped at this time. But miraculously, the car didn't stop. It did not stop at all. In fact, it took its highest speed on that barren road to the point that after some time, the thugs gave up and then they were nowhere to be seen. As streetlights suddenly came into our view, we immediately pulled towards an old hardware shop that came into our view. A few people were also present there, and we released an almost life-saving sigh of relief when we realized that the nightmare was finally gone. After that, my father told the owner of that hardware shop about everything. A few men also gathered around as they listened to my father, and they were appreciating the way we all handled the situation smartly. Those men told my father that those thugs on that barren road are very common and they had committed heinous crimes in the past. We were shocked and thanking God again and again for saving us. After that, those people helped us to find a safe place to spend the night, since it could be dangerous if we travel late at night on that barren area again. To which we were very grateful, and as the night ended and morning came, the nightmare was finally gone and we safely traveled back to our home. It was the incident that made me boycott going to my village, especially at night, but regardless of all of that, the experience was truly chilling and terrifying to all of us. To this day, we are thankful that God saved us that day. Our car that could have stopped didn't stop at that time, and I am truly thankful for that, as I hope no one runs into a situation like this anymore.